Hi, my name is Craig Moyer from MyDBA, and welcome to our video on database threats. In this video, we will illustrate to you just how vulnerable your databases are by showing you the various threats that your databases are exposed to and how these are used to breach your data. Okay, so let's get started. Hackers and thieves are only after one thing, and that is data of value. So protecting this data where it actually resides is of utmost importance. Some examples of personally identifiable information. This list is not exhaustive. Data security should not be limited to legislated data such as personal information, but should include business-sensitive data that could be at risk from industrial espionage. A couple of things to consider regarding the internet. South African companies are not immune to hackers and data breaches. We just keep our mouths shut about it. These stats were gathered at a conference in America, a country with mature data protection legislation and an advanced data security industry. If this is happening in a mature country such as America, imagine how bad the stats must be for a country like South Africa, who is in its infancy in terms of protection of personal information. Pause the video if you want to view these stats in more detail. Personal information is typically stored as structured data, such as in databases, or unstructured data such as in file servers and document servers. It can be on-premise or in the cloud, and also needs to include new concepts such as big data. All the data security products that MyDBA sells and implements support structured and unstructured data, as well as on-premise, in the cloud, or hybrid implementations. So how exactly are our databases breached? Here is a production database containing all our personal information. Did you know that data is stored as plain text within databases and can easily be extracted directly from the database files without the database even being open? If the database is stored as plain text, then obviously a backup of the same database will also be in plain text. And likewise, database backups on offline storage will also be in plain text. A common practice within organizations is to copy production databases into a test or UAT environment, which means sensitive data is taken from a secured environment to an unsecured environment. Anybody can access the data undetected where the database resides, where the database is backed up, and of course where it is kept at the offline storage facility. Anybody can view sensitive data in a test or UAT environment, as these environments typically have no security at all and passwords are generally soft and widely known. A systems administrator is the ultimate power user and is also the ultimate insider threat, being able to access any data on any platform largely undetected. Edward Snowden is the most infamous of sysadmins to date. Database administrators and privileged users are also a huge insider threat. DBAs are also often in charge of database security and auditing, which is a serious conflict of interests. Use and abuse monitoring is a very important security component, and without it you will not be able to detect unusual database activity, such as out-of-hours logins, failed logins, and brute force attempts, or even if users are using alternative tools to gain unauthorized access to the database and thereby circumventing the application security. Sensitive data access needs to be monitored as well in order to detect unusual or excessive access to this data. Data can also be extracted by unauthorized backups, data dumps, and bulk extracts. DDL, DCL, and database structure changes should also be monitored. Access to personal information is often a requirement for certain job functions within an organization, such as call center agents and other administrative type roles. It is very easy for users in these positions to simply write down on a piece of paper the sensitive information shown on their screens and this data theft will go completely undetected. SQL injection is one of the most common and easiest methods to gain unauthorized access to a database by piggybacking on or hiding within a valid database connection. Statistics suggest that web servers are typically neglected when it comes to patching and plugging known CVEs. Do you trust your DBAs and privileged accounts? Hackers target these first for obvious reasons. Logging onto a database in any other way besides via the application will allow excessive user rights to be exploited. Known vulnerabilities are the first point of exploitation, and not managing patches makes for an easy target. Most database installations are not immediately secure and may have weaknesses that need to be hardened. You cannot protect something you are unaware of, so unless you know where all your sensitive data resides, you won't be able to protect it, and it is very likely someone else will find it for you and exploit it. So what is the solution? Encrypt your database and documents. Encrypt once, and it will be encrypted everywhere it may go. Basically, with encryption, you can hide your data in plain sight. In order to enforce segregation of duties, a centralized encryption key manager is required. Any sensitive data that resides outside a secured production environment needs to be masked. As the slide demonstrates, data copied from the production environment to the test environment has been masked so that it is now realistic data instead of real data, and thereby removing any value it may have. Privileged users need to be monitored and audited to detect and prevent privilege abuse. Database firewalls need to be deployed to prevent DBAs from accessing sensitive data. This is not part of their job function, and segregation of duties needs to be enforced. Database activity monitoring is required to detect and alert on privilege abuse and unauthorized data access. Inline data masking, redaction, or tokenization is required to limit legitimate access to personal information, so that the information displayed is of insufficient value if written down, but enough to enable the user to perform their job function. A web application firewall is the only method to secure your web-facing applications from intrusion. Web application firewalls should provide real-time threat updates as well as virtual patching. A database firewall will block any unauthorized access to sensitive data, no matter where it emanates from. Determining, mapping, and managing user access rights is the only way that excessive rights can be removed. Bear in mind that a user should only be able to access sufficient data in order to be able to perform their job function. Any additional rights are a security risk. Web application firewalls can offer virtual patch management capabilities. However, configuration management software is the only way an organization can manage software versions and patches in today's complex environments. Without this, an organization is exposed to a plethora of commonly known bugs that present easy exploitation. Regularly assess software vulnerabilities, as upgrades and installations can undo previously hardened environments and/or introduce new vulnerabilities with the new software versions. Regularly scan your environment for sensitive data, as systems evolve over time with changes and new functionality. You need an inventory of your data in order to know what you have got, whether it is sensitive or not, and then choosing the most appropriate method of securing it. Here are the references used for this article. Press pause to view in detail. This concludes our video on database threats. For more information on MyDBA's database security services, please contact us via the details displayed. Thank you for watching our video.